He was very focused on occlusion, and then he got involved in cosmetics. And in the last few years, he's been heavily involved in materials research, working closely with Jess Clifford. And he will go ahead. How much time do you need?
I don't really know.
Half hour?
Yeah.
A half hour for him, and then people also had asked that they want to ask some questions to Dr. Bertram about the laser therapy, so he consented to come back and answer some questions. Before he does, Phil Sukel has about 5 minutes that he would like to talk to people about the IoT. So we'll do Aaron first, and then Phil, and then Dr. Bertram, and then we have the hospitality room.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Test. Okay, there we go. We'll use this. Thank you, Ed and Gary, Carol, everybody involved. Certainly our pleasure to be here. Nice to see some familiar faces. And it's always enjoyable to come back to the Monterey Peninsula area and share knowledge with our friends. Our laboratory, over the last 2 or 3 years, has been staying in close contact with some of the institutions, such as Jess Clifford's, who are involved in the study of materials and their application to dentistry. When we receive a report on a patient as to what can and cannot be used, then we take the next step involved in developing the techniques for processing the material and look upon it as, I guess the approach we take is we try to process a material that will last 10 plus years in the mouth. Quite often we only have a few materials we can choose from, and we are always ready to offer testing samples, etc., this sort of thing. What we want to do today is just touch on a few of the materials that we've been working with in the last couple of years, and also specifically this last year. The one we're going to start with here today is the Conquest polycarbonate dimethylacrylate material. This was developed by Generic Pentron. We were involved with the development of this material. It works quite well as inlay, for inlay application, onlay application, full coverage, posterior, anterior, and anterior region. We can also fabricate anterior bridge work. We have to be discretionary there. There are times when we may have to place a cast metal support. Again, dependent upon, we say cast there because it depends, of course, on what type of alloys, again, will be available. So we can embed metal support in this material if we need to. Posteriorly, we've processed a lot of bridge work posteriorly also, and been quite successful. Up to about 2 years ago, I think we've been involved with the material for about 4.5 years now. We had processed at the time about 6,000 restorations, and we saw a very high percentage of success, even though we were going through a learning curve along with our dentist accounts too. We were all going through a learning curve. This stuff held up really well. I think the reason it does in the posterior, of course, is due to the flexibility that the material has as compared to something like a porcelain, your Optec, Dicor, etc. There's been some problems with longevity there. This is holding up quite well. Posterior region, the aesthetics are just stupendous. I'm sure many of you are using the Direct. This is about 20% stronger than the Direct. Indirectly, of course, we're able to offer margination, contacts, contour, etc., incisal blending, this sort of thing. Again, full coverage is working quite well with us in the posterior region. What else? Sandy, what did we want to touch?
What are the problems with
the problems? Yeah, one of the biggest problems has been people don't want to bond. They haven't wanted to bond. They're coming through the curve of, going out of cementing into bonding, this kind of thing. So we've had people try to bond with glass ionomers, and it can be done. It can be done, but you're sacrificing half of your strength or more.
What do you recommend cement with or bond with or what?
Well, we recommend bonding. And generally what I say, you know, this is something that comes up quite often. Actually, it's something that's forgotten about quite often. You know, gee, this is going to be great. You know, Conquest, this is going to solve all my problems, you know, and then nobody ever questions, well, what do we place this with? You know, that's not even brought up. So Generic has developed their Optec bonding kit, which works well. What I say is if the material in this particular patient situation is not critical, use whatever dual cure bonding kit you have available, because you certainly don't need another one in the refrigerator. Yeah.
So is it wearing better than amalgam? I can't read that details there.
They say 6 to 8 microns a year.
Compare that to amalgam. I mean,
To amalgam?
Yeah, I'm just
I
curious.
can't.
Okay.
Somebody else would have to. Anybody here can compare this to amalgam?
Just answer.
Vials are 10 to 15 microns.
Okay.
10 to 15, okay. That is if you use the clear veneer material over the occlusion, though. The body, the incisal materials, will wear at a greater rate, in the neighborhood of 40. The clear veneer material will wear, they say, it's 6 to 8 in vitro.
Do you know what the shading is? What makes the color?
What makes the color? Oxides, various oxides. From there, I'd have to refer to somebody else.
How thick is the veneer on the occlusal surface of the posterior units?
I would suggest 1.5 to 2 millimeters, knowing that I'm probably going to get 1 to 1.5. Quite often what happens here is the thought pattern is, well, we don't need metal, therefore less tooth reduction. No, not really shouldn't be. I say go in and prepare like you would a PFM, you know. Then come in, smooth off your preparations, any sharp angles, go with about a 0.75 millimeter chamfer. You know, that works well for anything, anterior, posterior too. About 1.5, 2 millimeters on the occlusion, because we're relying totally on this material for strength. You need that inherent strength. Yes?
Have you used any rib-on fibers with this to strengthen it?
Yeah.
Does it work? No?
Well, I just don't see it.
Another question, is there any fluoride in this?
Fluoride in this material? Is there? I don't think so.
You mean in the body?
Any of it?
There's barium.
Barium?
Barium, however, is not going to be a problem if it's bound with silicon.
There you go.
Barium is a problem if they've used a salt for pigmenting, lucency, or coloration. If it is there as a barium silicate or a barium aluminosilicate, half-life is into the hundreds of thousands of years.
Thank you.
How is this produced? It's not cast restoration.
No, it's 80% light cure, 20% heat and pressure.
So it's produced in the lab, or you can use it in the office?
You can use the Conquest Direct in the office, yes. And they also have what they've called now a Conquest Crystal, which I have not gotten into yet.
It doesn't bond to the tooth structure?
This particular material?
Let's say you cure it in the mouth. Can you do that?
Does it bond to the tooth structure if
Do
you
you
cure it
cure it in the mouth?
with the Direct, yes. Conquest Direct.
Then you remove it and you cement it? That's the way it
No,
works?
no, you would cure in the mouth and it would stay in the mouth. You would not remove it, no.
But you cure it in parts too?
Sure.
Keep
Oh yeah,
working?
that would be recommended.
Okay.
Excuse me, Aaron, can you
Yeah.
repeat the questions also, once we have problems hearing back here?
She's asking if we cure in the mouth, what is the process? And I'm saying we go in layers, we bond directly to tooth structure using whatever technique you're comfortable with that's working for you.
So you treat this as a composite generally?
We treat this as a composite, yes. Yes, hybrid.
But this is an indirect system. We're dealing with an indirect.
This is an indirect laboratory fabricated that I'm talking about. There's Conquest C and B, which is laboratory fabricated. There's Conquest Direct, which is used directly at the chair.
Okay, how would you use, what's the difference in terms of laboratory procedure? How would you build the crowns? Same way?
Oh, on the model, lift from the model, process in a light unit. And, yes, basically you would build it the same way, yeah.
So it's the same material?
Yeah, generally, yes it is.
What's the
Sure.
accuracy in terms of margin?
Wonderful. As good as your hands can do it. You know, it depends on your capability. But it's, you know, for me it works very well. Yes, easy to work. Yes?
You know, when you mentioned your bonding of the metals, are you limited by the metals you use?
Titanium doesn't work real well. Nothing seems to bond to titanium well for us. I hate to say that because we've been working at it for about 3 years. What we're looking at now is a possibility of using a silicoator with a titanium alloy and giving the Conquest another shot. You try to bond directly to titanium with this material, it'll flake right off. It won't hold up. Try to bond this to a nice high gold content like 2713 or BioC, holistic, this type of alloy, 90%, 80% gold, holds up real well. Real well. Yeah? How do we compare to Concept? Concept is an acrylic. Concept is basically your what is it? Degussa. Isoset. Concept is isoset. But they won't tell you that. Concept is a failed isoset.
What do you mean by that?
That's what it is. It's isoset. It's just a marketing ploy. It's a new name for isoset. There may be a slight deviation in the formulation, but basically it comes directly from the isoset. And Conquest was named what it is by generic only as a marketing move, again, so they could go up against the Concept. Concept has been very successful. We've never worked with it, but I know a lot of people have had success with it.
You like chamfer better than shoulder prep?
Oh yeah. It's just so much easier to work with in the mouth, you know, chair side. I see shoulders get people in trouble because all of a sudden we're thinking angular. And you know, when you're bonding, if you're working with porcelain inlays especially, these things have to drop right in. If they don't, we got trouble already. And in the lab too, you know, you manufacture it 3 times before it goes out the door. It's tough. People have given up on inlays, porcelain inlays, and that's one of the reasons we moved into composites. Because we knew 70% of the dentists, 70% of the laboratories out there, they just were never going to be able to work with porcelain inlays. They couldn't do it. It's too tough. Yeah, and it's just the materials were technique sensitive. Yeah.
How does it work for overlay partials?
Overlay partials? Yeah. Yeah. Don't expect anything fantastic, though. Pay careful attention to occlusion. You know, really tune into occlusion, or you're going to have some flaking and chipping involved. Now, we've just got something going for Carol Arana here, a full lower, full upper overlay out of composite. I'm sure Ed is going to spot bond that into place, and we'll work with her. We'll add to it. We'll subtract till we get her where we want her. Then we'll take her back apart again. And yeah, so that can be done, and that's done a lot, and that holds up well. Spot bonded into place. Just a spot here. Here she go. Yeah. XRV Lab. That's good material too. A nice occlusal wear. Well, not nice occlusal wear. Good occlusal, sound occlusal structure there. Seems to show up well, as I've noticed on many of the reports. We don't work with this a whole lot. Most of what we do is Conquest. Okay.
What about Brilliant?
Brilliant? Well, in terms of the reports, I don't know. Jess, what do you see with Brilliant? Can you comment on that, or would you rather not?
Brilliant as a material is fantastic for wear compatibility, but the system is a disaster. The shading system is a disaster.
We've worked with it on a very limited extent, so I really don't know what to tell you. Okay. Visiogem is a good material. I'm sure many of you used this about 6, 7, 8 years ago. Never really got off the ground here in the US. In Europe, it's still big. They use a lot of it in Europe. As a veneering material, what we'll do sometimes, we'll build a frame up, say in the anterior region, with something like Conquest hybrid, which offers us strength as we go into movements. And then we'll veneer with the Visiogem microfill because it's very pretty. It's a very nice looking composite, probably the best looking composite that's out there, but nobody knows it. Conquest in the anterior region, 50% of the time you're going to see something nice. The other, and posteriorly, it's going to be nice every time, but anteriorly, 50%, it's not a bad idea to move over to Visiogem, which does show up well on the reports, surprisingly so. We lucked out there. We've been with Visiogem about 4 or 5 years. I guess we started with it a little bit before the Conquest. Tooth preparation we've already discussed a little bit. Ed, are you here? Could I get you to offer a little input on, you do such a beautiful job of designing inlays and onlays, full coverage. We get a lot of questions on tooth preparation, especially with inlays. And could we get some input?
First of all, you want to have a line of shed on an inlay. And the unique thing about, I'll come up there. One of the things that Dr. Bertolotti is going to talk about is about the dream that most restorative dentists have had in conserving tooth structure. We're going to be able to do that with this composite and adhesive technologies. Admittedly, they're just getting underway, but I see things, we're almost there now of having a real good material to make this for the long run, to make it aesthetic, make it functional, make it comfortable, without a doubt. Okay? We're able to take the MOD amalgam apart. We're able to put the facial composite in there that's on the gingiva. And that's a lot of your molar teeth. Right there, you don't have to waste all that enamel with an air rotor. That's how the tooth stays viable. That's how it stays well. One of the things you want to do in a inlay preparation is you want to open it up. We have Fusayama's new book out here, and he goes into discussing inlays. And what you want to do is have a lot of shed vertical surface for bonding. And he explains that in the book, which I think is a very good book. In fact, he's been doing painless restorative adhesive dentistry for probably 15 years. And he's responsible for the development of the Clearfill Merita brand, Photobond, and all of their line of products. And that's a very good product. But when you start doing these things, you're able to do nice margins with them and finish them down. The only problem is if you get your eluting cement on the inlay and you don't get it off in time, it's kind of hard. You have to spend a lot of time polishing it and getting it off. That still has to be worked out. But Dr. Bertolotti is excited about this, and so am I. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and it's going to help a lot of teeth. So that's basically what I wanted. A line of shed, and it's okay. You don't have to tip a cusp. You can just bond to it. If the thing breaks, and the only person I've ever had an inlay break, and I've probably been doing them 2.5 years now or so, is my son Marcus. And honestly, they don't break. And we've had some sensitive teeth because I've switched adhesives and stuff, and every little step is critical. I think that you can determine on your first primary layer, and after you build it up, you should try to do this without anesthesia, so you can blow air on it and see if there is any sensitivity there at all or not. Don't do it with anesthesia, but some people you can't do that. It's a little quickie for them. But you can either make a chamfer on the proximals, or you can make a seat. But if you make a seat, you got to make it tapered, so you have a line of withdrawal. And you can flare it out a little bit more, because I've had preparations where
on bicuspid, where I've had maybe from, let's say a circle represents the bicuspid, and we got a quadrant from midnight to 9 o'clock. There, just one cusp, part of a cusp sticking up, and the rest of it is just flat level below the gingiva, okay? We've taken bonded these things on there, and the bonding, they're not sensitive, the bonding holds the thing on there, and I keep scratching my head all the time. And it's still there. I've had composites in the mouth now 23 years, and this wasn't the first ones. We had some even before that. And I was looking at an old chart and was rested in Dr. Lee's products, you know, from the Lee Pharmaceuticals. So anyway, once you start doing them, you'll like them, and the patients love it.
What's the cost per unit?
Thank you, Ed. To the patient?
Yeah, both.
Both. Ed, what do we charge patients for these things?
Well, you gotta, they take more time than a regular inlay. So I would say...
Than a regular gold inlay, you're saying?
Yeah, regular gold inlay.
Yeah.
I charge the same for a composite inlay or a gold inlay, and then I add the gold, whatever the gold is on top of that. So you're looking at anywhere from, let's say, $400 or $500 up to $650 for an inlay. And that's cheap. You go to Los Angeles, in certain districts, it's quite a bit higher.
I think Omar Reed looks at these, and this passed by me, I just happened to hear it. As somewhat, he compares them to amalgams. He says, you know, really there's not a lot more time involved for him, other than the lab fee. You know, and he'll go down a quadrant and plop, plop, plop with the gold inlays, and he feels real good about this approach. I don't know where he's at with, you know, composites, but the lab fees range anywhere from $50 to $100, that neighborhood.
In your handout material, there's a thing called reality. And if you're not familiar with it, what it is a compendium of newsletters developed by dentists. They accept no advertising. And they have a panel where they try the products out and report back. So they have a panel, maybe 40, 50 guys that are reporting on these new products. The company sends it to them. And they rate these products, whether they'll buy them or not. After you read that over, you can tell. But they also give the information to the editor of their little journal, and they come up with things like only 6% of the dentists are using composite inlays and porcelain inlays and onlays. Only 6%.
Yeah.
And then 70% of those dentists that are doing this prefer composite inlays. Okay? And that's interesting to know. You get some feedback from somebody else that's doing what you're doing. And you're in the top 6% to begin with.
Yeah, there you go.
There's more work with composite than it is with gold.
The bonding procedures. Yeah. Yeah. Too many people forget about that when they're working this into their fees. Yeah, but it's a better restoration.
What is your recommendation for first and second molars where they're bruxer?
Eliminate the bruxing before you do anything else.
Well, I understand that, but if you're still having some problems with that, would you suggest switching to gold rather than having the composite? What are you looking at as far as wear for those very special individuals?
Ooh.
Make a night guard.
Make a night guard, yeah.
Well, besides that.
I don't know. I don't know. Ed?
I'd probably make it out of metal.
Gold is very forgiving. It's not going to break.
But here again, if you take in, let's say, adjust their mouth totally, eliminate interferences, and do some therapy to reduce the tension in their head.
Yeah.
Neural therapy or nutritional, whatever, how you want to do it, homeopathic. Then you make sure that it's a good occlusion. You can probably get away with a composite inlay.
And if the patient does not want to accept the added expense of eliminating the bruxism problem, as we know that can get involved, then you would just have to explain, offer them the choice, but state that, they've got some problems that really should be solved before we proceed with restorative.
Many times, though, if you just bring it to their attention
Well, that was the question, because some people, they just don't want to do anything about it, so what are you going to choose as you're still going to do that, you're going to gold? Yeah.
Cover yourself.
If you know that beforehand, then
That was the intent of the question.
nickel beryllium.
Yeah, nickel beryllium.
There you go.
He's got the best answer. Give them amalgam so they can forget their problems.
I spent so much time in the temple. It takes me more time to make a temple. Very hard. It's so small.
We'll move into bonded porcelain restorations now. Optech is up here because Optech is where we started about 5-6 years ago. I know there's been a lot of failure with Optech. Hate to say that. We've had some success, not with inlays, not with onlays. Full crown coverage, other than the posterior region, we get along very well with. This is a lucite crystalline reinforced material. That's not just a trademark name, it's the lucite crystal that's actually used. Optech is being revamped right now by Generic. We've done some work with them here also. They are in the process of coming out with some techniques to increase the strength of this by approximately 1/3 again. Dr. Arun Prasad is working on that. Pretty sharp individual. Let's go on to the next transparency.
So in the object you're suggesting not inlays, not onlays, and not posterior?
Well, it depends on your laboratory. Optech has been a very sensitive material. It's because of the lucite reinforcement. It seems to cause crack propagation, fracturing, with inlays and posterior restoration. It has to do with the design, the posterior region, the engineering, the prep design. The Impress system here is also lucite reinforced. Optech owns the patent rights to that. Generic does. Unfortunately for Impress, there could be some problems. A lot of people really haven't done a whole lot with this yet, but this is playing the same strength game as Optech. It is stronger than regular feldspathic dental porcelains. It's tougher. However, with this system, what you can do, you can press. This is a press ceramic system where you utilize the lost wax technique, create a mold, and then through the use of their specialized equipment developed in Liechtenstein, the ceramic is pressed into the mold and recovered. You can press using body, you can press using clear. If you press using body on a full crown, then you can cut back and layer in your coloring, layer in your incisals. Very versatile. The inlays are nice because you can press using the clearer material, which of course does not have the shading components in it, and somehow because of that seems to get us over the hump with this cracking problem with the lucite reinforced ceramics. I'm anxious to hear what the individual ceramic engineer might have to say on that when he comes up. So the inlays, the onlays are working very well. Again, if you're going to move into ceramic inlays and onlays, be careful. This is not composite. Again, the composites are so forgiving. However, in some instances, this is required. This is, again, alumina reinforced. Anytime you're working with porcelain, you have aluminum. Yeah?
Any denser material because of the pressures?
Does it, what?
Any denser than conquest concept because it's impressed into the mold? Is the density any more?
No, with this material, it has to do with the ceramic. I don't think the pressing increases our strength, no. The pressing is just the technique that's been developed. Yeah. The strength, the increased strength is gained from the crystalline, lucite crystalline input. We seem to get quite often a lot of comments on the in-ceram material. We don't do a lot with this. It's an alumina core, somewhat like the Vita Duress was 20 years ago. In fact, I actually think that they shelved the Vita Duress. You remember Germany first came on the market with Vita Duress, their alumina core material, early 70s. I think they brought it back out in this form, just modified the technique a little bit. Heavy alumina core base. Again, if you're trying to stay away from metal, gosh, this isn't it. However, it does seem to show up at times on reports. I don't know how it does it, but it shows up well. You know, we had one just the other day. This patient could handle in-ceram, period. So that's what we do. The veneering material, the alumina core, of course, has no aesthetic capability, other than it is somewhat translucent. The veneering material, again, is a regular feldspathic porcelain, somewhat like your Vita. Again, the strength factor is not there. So you have your alumina core, it will not break. However, your veneering material may. So which do you choose? Do you choose something like this, or do you choose something like Impress or Optec, which is strength enhanced throughout the ceramic? It just depends. They're all different. Hydrothermal dental ceramic systems. A lot of you have heard this advertised by the trade name occlusal glass. The material is actually LFC, manufactured by Degussa, low-fusing ceramic. Cannot be bonded to metal, but can be bonded to other porcelains. You cannot fuse this to foils. You, to a limited extent, can use the refractory system if you'd like to work with inlays, onlays, but it's tough. Again, we have problems in the laboratory with fracturing. That's difficult. They claim it to be a very low abrasion type of porcelain. The biggest push has been mainly to the laboratories. You can drop your firing cycles down in the laboratory, use it as repair materials, etc. The bioglass, what they're starting with a regular type of feldspathic base, and then they come on using incisal or clear, they will veneer over the occlusion. It becomes bioglass. The Sealay system, again, we're still in the area of bonded ceramic restorations. I know there are so many out there. It's tough to keep them all straight, but Sealay's new, again, by Vident, same people that are involved with the in-ceram. Just hit the market here in the U.S. about 4 months ago. What happens here is we're working with a wax pattern in the laboratory or a composite pattern, and this is a copy milling system. You go into the machine, and then it will mill from a block of a Vita block, the Vita block material, your inlay. Same material they're using with the Cerec system by Siemens. Same stuff, Vita block material. The margination is not what we get with the Impress system in the laboratory. Looking at it from a materialistic point of view, material-wise, again, just another porcelain. It is not a high-strength porcelain, as would be compared to something like, again, the Impress or the Optec or the in-ceram core material. You can modify this. You press and clear, and then you shade from there. Again, the restorations do fit well. I don't think you're going to see a lot happening here with this system. I don't think it's going to be around too long. It's about $30,000. Okay. Ceramics Plus, the name we use, our porcelain metal restorations. We'll move on to the next slide. I guess what we offer is a little different than most, is we offer whatever has to be offered in the way of alloys when we're bonding our porcelain to alloys. Our porcelain to metal systems, we find the 2713 to be accepted across the board well. The Bio-C is another good one. We see it show up on the reports all the time. Bio-H is a nice alloy. That handles well, very nice polishability there as compared to, wait a minute. The Bio-C has the nice polishability. As you know, the 2713 and some of these alloys are really tough to get a finish.
You do bridge work with the Bio-C?
With the Bio-C, we do what has to be done. I know it sounds like I'm really not answering the questions, but what happens so often is the patient will only have Bio-C. We can only use Bio-C. 3-4 unit bridge work, posterior region, I don't really have a problem with that, no. It seems to work well. Yeah. You know, going beyond that, it's a soft metal. You're talking 80–90% gold. You know, and a little bit of platinum can give us a lot and really increase our physical strength, but can only do so much too. What do we have, Sandy, that works well? You know, when you're talking long span, which one of these alloys again is? The RXCG. That is by generic, RXCG. Yeah, that's a good one. The cost is I think it's just a little less costly, a couple dollars less per pennyweight. Which? I have not heard of that. Arginet 86. Argident.
Argent Gold Company in San Diego. It makes some very good gold.
Okay.
You cannot fuse porcelain to holistic.
No. No, that's Crown and Bridge alloy.
Composite.
Composite you can. Conquest you can. Yeah. 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 Here's another new one. No palladium in this, right? Yeah. Again, revolving around the hydrothermic porcelains, the LFC again, now Degussa has come out with, and this is marketed right now again by, most people will know it as occlusal gold, I believe, by Glidewell, you've seen it. This is a high gold content alloy, handles very well. We're fusing low fusing porcelains to it. It's type 4 alloy. This I just wanted to throw in the vintage, 3M vintage material. This is a porcelain fused to metal material. Excellent anterior aesthetics. 3M has really come through for us here. I think they've really shown that they're committed to dentistry with some of the things they're coming out with. When they first hit the market, I thought, boy, what are they going to do? Are they going to commit to dentistry, or are they just going to give it a shot and see if it'll work and then bail out? But they're hanging in there. And the 3M vintage material in the anterior region, very nice. That bony look to it, very nice. Using the opal incisals, very nice. Tanaka Sunrise system, again metal-free. No, not metal-free, palladium-free. What is the content on this again, Sandy?
They call it a gold platinum base. I don't know that they actually give any percentage.
Okay. It's a foil system. You have a 60 micron sheet of foil. Adapts very nicely in the anterior region. Veneer any type of feldspathic porcelain to this. Very nice aesthetics. Very nice capability. You can burnish your margins. Minimal metal there. They're coming across probably from the fit and the aesthetic angle here. It's a good one. In the anterior region again. Posteriorly, the foils don't adapt real well. But here's one that does. This is practically pure gold. We have less than 0.5%, less than 1/2%, and you're not going to like it, copper. But Jess, was talking with him before, he said anytime, something like copper, he said anytime we're under 0.5%, he doesn't worry about it. Jess, can I get some input on this?
We do not even register it in the computer if it is less than 0.5%, with the exception of beryllium and nickel.
Yes. This is an electroforming system, is what it's called, developed in Germany. University of Munich has done the testing on this. We get a very nice adaptation to the die. We plate directly to the plaster die. Maximum room for porcelain. Superior retention. High gold content. You can bond any type of porcelain to this. You have to adjust some cycling, thermal cycling cycles. Dr. Odell, you've tried a few of these.
Yes, probably the most beautiful porcelain crowns I've run up are used. And it seems to be the shading that you have a margin that is
24 karat gold just about, and you can burnish it. It's just ideal, and it's extremely thin, probably what, less than a half a millimeter margin.
We played it about 1/10 of a millimeter. Yeah.
And the color from the gingival aspect up is what makes it so real for when you start looking at that. Most crowns you see kind of, you start seeing the opaque aspect. And this
I'd say you double your aesthetic capabilities here. Yeah.
what is it called?
We call the crown pinnacle. Pinnacle. You minimize your metal costs there too, Gary.
What's the thickness?
Well, again, we would prepare like anything else, 1.5 millimeters to 2 millimeters, hoping that we get 1 to 1.5.
But the coping thickness?
The coping thickness is about 1/10 of a millimeter.
Over the whole prep, not just the ginger.
That would be the gold coping, yes, over the entire prep, yes.
What type of prep?
Well, again, a chamfer finish. Round off any sharp angles, so we would cement something like this.
No undercut.
Yeah, this is the type of restoration. The approach has been retention, fit, and aesthetics, and this isn't the type of crown that well, we'll see if we can make this fit, you know. You want a real nice impression, no undercuts. We have to be real careful in the lab, too. This is something you want to drop right on, yeah.
Dye spacing those?
Well, that's, we debate that because we're after retention here. So what we've done is we've gone to one coat. That's where we're at right now with it. The name of the game is retention with this, so we've minimized there. Yeah. How have your occlusions worked, Dr. Odell? We're going one coat of cement spacer. Have you noticed a difference compared to, say, our regular porcelain fused to metal in terms of fit? Or they seem to be dropping on for you?
Better. I mean, as far as fit adjustments, I've never worked with anything as well. Even the gold, I can't compare any gold inlay to fit to what you come up with.
And we also work with inlays here. We can bond composite again to this. We can bond the Conquest to this. Quite often with the inlays, though, you'll wind up with a metal finish line. It's real tough in the lab. You're under magnification, and it's real tough to avoid that. There's a little thickness that builds up, and you're really getting down to the nth degree here. So go ahead.
What advantage would that be to do anyway? You're talking about putting composite on these different metal alloys. What's the benefit?
Just depends on what you're comfortable with. If you want to cement and not bond, yeah.
As far as your film,
One size doesn't fit all, one type doesn't fit
your
all.
dye thickness too. When you're saying you're only using one layer of dye spacer, there's no concern in your part with regard to the cement.
Oh yeah, there's concern, but it seems to be working for us this way. Every account, of course, is different. Some may require more dye spacer, but again, the name of the game here is retention, is what we're after.
I find when you use, my lab puts 5 layers of dye spacer.
Oh yeah.
And I have no problem with the higher percentage of alloys, gold alloys. They seem to hug the two.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that may be something you don't have to be as concerned about.
Great. Okay.
Can you go back to that bridge? You're doing electroplating on a total bridge. There's a substructure across there?
There's a substructure that's cast first, yes. And then we're plating the entire piece, encasing that substructure.
The substructure, what are you using for substructure?
We use it's a carbon bar structure that they're prefabricated. We haven't done a lot with that yet, though. Little skeptical about it. Maybe we'll have to try one of those. Next year we'll talk about all of our successes. Ti Plus. This is our trade name we use. Titanium. Brief review of titanium. We've tried a few different systems. There's been a lot of interest here, of course. Across the board, in the U.S., 140,000, the interest isn't there. There is no interest in titanium. There's a lot of apprehension. The average dentist doesn't know what to think about titanium. I'm hearing here at the meeting, some people feel, yeah, and some people, What I'm saying is, what we've heard, this material handles well to be cast as a removable partial denture. We hear from patients, they say, man, this is so lightweight. I really like this. We've heard that many times. Handles well in the lab. Full crowns, you run into porosity with this metal. It's just inherent. It's tough to deal with. We cast at 230 Gs and it's still porous. Bonding to this material, composites, we're looking at silicoating next. Is that up next, Sandy?
No, but I can do it.
We're looking at silicoating. This is Colzer's system. You can also silicoat and process porcelain onto titanium. We haven't done anything with this yet. We're looking at it. This material seems to repel, of course, in the mouth plaque well, but it repels everything else too. Porcelain, you try to fire porcelain to it, it's difficult to work with. So I don't know what's going to happen. There's a system coming out from Helmetica called Procera. It was going to hit the market 2 years ago. They backed out. Now they're trying to tie CAD/CAM in with it, and they've had to backstep again. I don't know what they're seeing in terms of marketing this. This will be a spark erosion process, where they're going to process their copings right there in Chicago at their processing lab for anybody. Hopefully you'll be able to bond porcelain onto that. We seem to have fit with the dentorum system, if you back to that now. And this works well for full crowns. Now this is not the same titanium. The dentorum, yeah. We have fit here, but we don't seem to be able to bond, no. We seem to bond porcelain well to this. Composite, again, not so well, but the fit has been a problem here. With generic system, we have fit, a very nice fit, but we have difficulty bonding porcelain again. So I think these companies were really high on bringing these systems out. I know generic was. They really expected a lot. They really expected the market to boom. Again, in Europe, it's different. It seems to work better there. Scandinavia, Sweden, 80% of the restorations done are on titanium there. It seems to be working. But here in the U.S., it just has not taken off yet, anyway. Shine Temps, again, our trade name. We work with the jet acrylic quite often. This shows up well. And the Biolon is a very nice material, very strong, handles very well for us. Aesthetics look good. That's where we're at. This is something new. We've been with this about 2 months. We're hearing some positive comments from a lot of people. I don't know if we heard much negative yet. No. Is anybody using this? I know a few of you are. Flexite?
Like Valplast.
Well, I don't know. Valplast? Or, yeah. I think it's the same thing. I do. Is that what you're using? Yeah. It's nylon material. They call it a nylon alloy. I don't know what they mean by that. Dr. Reggiani, do you know what they mean by that? Nope. No, I don't know what they mean. But the only concern right now is what we see. You're designing partials, the clasp must be considered extensively, and fabricating rests with this material, I think we're going to have some problems. So it's a good material, it looks good, it looks like it has some promise, but I think we're going to have to either look at 1.5mm depth rest preparations or move to possibly a processed metal rest. Is that what you were going to?
Yeah, I've been using Flexite for at least 3 or 4 years, and it is a tissue-borne system.
Right.
And why do they promote it that way?
Why don't they?
Or why is that? It just has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I tried it with rest preps, and they're going to come off.
Yeah. Did you try processing metal rests into it?
Yeah, and you can do that.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's probably not worth it because it's not a real long-lasting system. There's a lot of wear and tear on it. I mean, 4 or 5 years down the line, they start to look a little bit ratty.
Okay.
but it's excellent fit, biocompatibility, no metal, no electrogalvanic problems with other metals in the mouth.
Great.
That's what makes it good.
Yeah.
But it's not going to last forever.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The occlusal rest problem is a technical problem. It's a problem that when you inject, they pop up.
I look upon it as a technical problem on your end and our end. Yeah. Yeah, my fear would be breakage. And I hate to see something like that tissue-borne, totally tissue-borne. I don't know. But we're working on it. We've only been with it 2 months now, so we're excited about it. We're going to go with it. We're going to give it our best shot.
What you do when you're making your rests is to have an extension with maybe a little like a paddle or
Yeah.
a key or something.
Yeah.
So the stone will purchase it and keep it in that position. And then when you process it, you just cut it off at the proximal taper of the rest. In other words, say this is the rest going like this, and you got an extension coming out here like a little paddle to keep it in space.
Okay,
And
right.
when you pour your stone in there, it covers this up. Now you got this thing sticking out after you've separated. You just
Clean it up. Yeah. There you go. Flexite. Test samples. We just wanted to mention here that we do offer, we're always wide open at whatever material the patient may require. If there's 2 or 3 that you haven't heard of, give us a call. We do offer testing samples. Yeah. We like to look at new materials all the time. It keeps us functioning. Yeah.
Do you have a material that's a metal that you can use for porcelain veneer to metal and partials also?
And partials also. Well, the Golden Gate system, yeah, where we're fusing the low fusing porcelain onto the gold colored, 80% gold. This is new. They're saying yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the thrusts behind the marketing of that by Degussa. Appears to be a good system. Yeah. Any other questions? It's getting dark out there. Let's go. Okay. Thank you all very much. I enjoyed it.
Copy down the percentages of the gold.
Yeah, Sandy? Yeah, just ask Sandy whichever one you want there. Hey, thanks for your input. I enjoy that.
I'd like to talk to you for a moment about the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. Let me take a little survey here. How many dentists do we have in the audience? How many of you are dentists? How many are MDs? MDs. How many PhDs do we have here? MD, physician, MD, or DO. Okay, how many PhDs do we have here? How many do we have non-dentist or non-PhD or non-MDs? Okay, I just want to know what the interest would be for what I'm having to say, because I think it applies to everybody no matter what you are. First of all, the IAOMT is the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, and what I wanted to do was to tell you, first of all, the relationship we have with the American Academy of Biological Dentistry. This is a synergistic association that we have. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, for those of you who don't know, is dedicated to scientific research and base a lot of our information on that, basically so that we can support what we're doing even here. As people learn about the mercury issue and the base metals and whatnot, they'll percolate into this kind of an organization. We now have, at this day, today, could be one of the very key days for all of this movement, because the Academy of General Dentistry is reviewing our application for to become a national sponsor, program sponsor. Which, if we do get approval, what that'll mean is that our organization will be able to sponsor meetings such as this, so that people can get fellowship and masterships credits in the Academy of General Dentistry. The ramifications should be pretty obvious. What it means is that dentists who would be considered mainstream and who consider what we're doing kind of a little bit out on the side may now come to some of our meetings, so that because they just get bored with the other information. And you know what happens when they come. Some are going to reject it, but there's going to be a certain number that are going to say, hey, there really is something here. So what we have now is a revised fellowship mastership program with the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. For those who want, I have an application for that program. And if you'd like to, if you're not a member of the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology and would like an application, you can call Ron Dressler at 404-349-2088. And let me give you a little bit of a glimpse of what we're doing now. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology is coming out of the woodwork. We are sponsoring what we're calling the first midwinter meeting on biocompatible dentistry to be held concurrent with the Chicago Dental Society midwinter meeting. We're hoping that we're going to get a good number of dentists who otherwise would be looking for something different at that meeting. By that time, if we have fellowship mastership credits through the Academy of General Dentistry, we'll probably get even more people coming to it. That meeting, for those of you who don't know, it is the largest scientific dental meeting in the world. They attract anywhere from 27,000 to 29,000 dentists every winter in Chicago. We should get a few spill-offs. Our date is going to be on the February 18th on a Friday. I have brochures here for anyone who would like it. And if you have any further questions, feel free to get in touch with me here. Thank you. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say. For those of you who go home and you talk to your friends, you can then spread the information that these are the things that we're offering. And to give you a little idea, one of the most difficult things is for someone to hold a seminar in their hometown. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology now has a pretty extensive list of faculty members who are supplying the title of their talk, what the outline is of their talk, the length of time that it's going to take, and we're going to make that available to anyone who wants it. So if you want to design a seminar, you'll have all the resources in this particular area. And by the way, Ed Arana is on the faculty, along with some others here. Thanks.
Okay, this closes up today. Any last parting shots? Hospitality room 350. We're starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning with Dietrich, right? So it's good. Did you have a good time today? Wait till it's over.
I thought Don Bertram was going to come up and people want to ask him questions.
Okay, let's do that. Oh, after Don gets through answering the questions, then you can leave anytime you want. We're going to come back here at 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to look at some videos. Important things that Americans and Canadians ought to know. And Australians. And anybody opposed to the New World Order.
What a radical.
Don.